Can't complain.
You can't complain.
You can't complain. Nobody's listening.
Ain't that the truth?
How are we, guys? Those of you who are here.
Doing it live again.
Doing it live again.
Uninterrupted.
Can you believe it? Can you believe it?
Mate, nothing's beyond the realms of possibility.
No, nothing at all. Nothing at all. So, do you want to start with Cripps?
Well, the order I've got on my screen, which just helps me out, is Cripps, Durdin, Boyd, Owies, Pitt.
All right. Cripps.
But I don't care what order you go. I can work it out on the fly.
I feel like we'll start with Boyd, and I feel like we'll end with Cripps, because by that point there'll be a few more people in. They'll get amongst it. You know how it goes.
I feel like the first time.
Afternoon, guys. Chills. Sayaf. Good to see you. Lucinda. We're doing our thing. We're going to start off
for ages. Like, is he
Who?
busy? Like IRLing?
Sayaf, mate. Sayaf's doing his thing. You know. He's chilling.
It's always a worry when you're really active and then suddenly you're going. That's ominous. That means kids are approaching, marriage. That is what that means.
He's a smart man. He knows when to turn off. When do you think the buzz actually starts? Like the actual buzz? Is it end of Jan?
Yeah, probably. I mean, for me, I get excited first quarter of the first practice game.
Yeah.
That's when I engage.
Yeah, I think first bounce of practice game number 1 and the buzz is back. And then by opening round, by the first game, you're chomping.
I'm just on cruise control now. You know what I mean? I know some people are getting into like Twitter warfare and stuff. That's not me. You know what I mean? But I'd much rather have the pants bored off me by my kids and wife, to be honest, at this time of year than lower myself to them standards.
It has, yeah. I mean, hey, my rule of thumb with the Collingwood fans is it's really easy. Just to show them a little bit of love and respect. That's all they want. They want you to tell them how good Collingwood is. It's really easy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Come on. Spend time with your loved ones, man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. But
do something productive with your Christmas day.
Mate, for some people, the grand final that happened however many months ago is all they've got. So, you know.
Do you know what I mean? McDonald's are doing $1 ice creams. Get that down you. It's a huge dub. It's a cost of living crisis. Yeah. Got to take the wins.
All right. So, Jordan Boyd. Pom, we're talking about a guy here born on the 22nd of September, 1998. Played 9 matches in 2023. Got a little bit unlucky, if I say so myself, after that suspension against, was it Port Adelaide for this sling? Was that what that was, I think?
Let's re-jog my memory. Where is he? Yeah, I think it was off the top of my head. You throw a stat at me that I don't have to hand. But yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the Port Adelaide game. Yeah. Spot on, Terry.
Came back for the prelim. And I think similar to Chincotta going into the year, I wasn't quite sure where he was in the pecking order. And by the end of it, I think he's well and truly an important piece to the list.
I think see what we said about Chincotta, isn't he? He's one of them players that probably, when people name their best 22, he's probably on the skirt of 22nd man, 23rd man. He's that player that probably isn't the exciting one, but he's a real credit to probably the biggest scheme of our list that probably 5 years ago, this guy was a walk-up start, wasn't he? But now, because we've got depth, he is one of the interchangeable pieces of an ever-evolving list. And what I like about Boyd is since he's been here, he's really added things. So people used to get really excited about, oh, he can kick. Jesus, professional footballer can kick a ball.
The bar was low.
Jeepers, what next? He's got a working face. But he's added elements to his game, hasn't he? And I really like the fact that he's got a bit of a personality as well. I feel sometimes Carlton of old, when I say Carlton of old, I'm going back to 2017, 2018. Everyone was copy and paste personality. There's something about Boydie, isn't there? You see how he engages with the players. He's a little bit quirky as well. I sat with him at one of the sponsors events. The guy's a little bit out there, and you kind of need that when you're in a team. You need that out there mentality, and he's a guy that's gone from strength to strength the more games he's played.
Yeah, it was unlucky. Played against the Pies, first game for the year. Got himself all the way through to, that Port Adelaide game. Obviously missed a game with the bye, and then he just became a reliable piece down there. I think can't help but put him and Chincotta in a similar vein, because I feel like they both got comfortable at similar times in the side. And then I think that piece that you just said there, we're seeing a bit more of his personality, and that's probably a reflection on the environment around him and how well he's respected. It was clear that they found a really important use for him, and I guess the big question is what happens in 24 when Zach Williams is back in the mix there. I think naturally my mind goes to him and Chincotta in this Zach Williams-esque role.
You know what excites me? There was a few players last year who got injured or suspended, and years gone by, we would be just ticking the days off the calendar until they were eligible again. Boyd really, he got that suspension, but look at the players that came in and took the role, and we weren't begging for Boyd to be back, and he had to bide his time to get back in the system. That just shows you that we are now a proper football side where we've got 25, 30 footballers. And Boyd, 2-3 years ago, was waiting for that opportunity. Now he's got himself into that ilk of top 20, top 25 players. And he's now going to be keeping players honest, because we do know round one, Zach Williams, walk-up start, should he be fit. Yeah. But Boyd and Chincotta will be saying to themselves, hang about, we got Carlton to finals. We're going to put the pressure on you and keep you honest. So this player here is the same as Chincotta. I'm excited for Zach Williams because we've got these players on the list. Gone are the days where Zach Williams can have 7 mediocre games, because one of these two are ready to step in and say, go back to VFL, Zachy. I've got you, mate.
No, it's a good point. And, I mean, you talk about making a name for yourself in big games. He had his best game of the season in the final game that he played, which was the prelim. Just played with I don't know, I think you can always tell a lot about a player in these high-pressure games. I thought he took his moment really well. Certainly was one of our better players, or better handful of players in terms of who performed their role on the day. And I just think it's a nice addition to the list. I wasn't sure about the move initially because I didn't know much about him at all. And now I find myself really enjoying him on the list.
Neither did Agresta. Agresta said he was a small forward for the Bulldogs. So, I mean, you weren't the only one. Do you know what I mean? And he's our national recruiting manager. But, no, I think the wonderful thing about Boyd as well, a lot's got to be said about players like Chincotta, Cottrell, who have come through the system and not got any love. So it's all well and good going into the draft, newspaper articles, Cal Toomey getting excited about you, to a lesser extent me getting excited about you, but it's these players that have gone through there. They've had to take jobs at McDonald's. They've had to sweep floors. They've had to go and shovel the proverbial football poo, as it were, and then they get their opportunity, and you see it. You see it in abundance. You see Cottrell's graft. You see Boyd coming into a prelim against one of the most potent offensive sides in the league, and he knuckled down 4 tackles. 2 of them were goal-saving tackles. There's a little bit of a desire and a bit of he's paying with hurt, anger, pain, suffering, and you need them players around there. And I agree with equality. I think I think Boyd would be one of them players that maybe isn't in everyone's best 22, but I keep saying this. I don't think Voss cares about talent. Voss doesn't give a shit about your resume. He cares about game day, and Boyd has got whatever it is on game day in abundance.
Yeah. No, look, he's become an exciting prospect for me moving forward because I think he performs his role well. And I think he can still improve in what he does and get even more confident than what he already is. So where does that leave him for 2024? I think it's when we need him, he'll be called up. I don't know if he would necessarily be first choice. But having said that, I think he is the type of player who clearly showed you can't underestimate their ability and their desire. And it's good to have players like this on the list now. These are not the types I'm so used to talking about.
Mate, I've got a lot of time for a man that has his nails painted, wears a hairband, and then plays like a psychopath on a weekend.
Yeah.
For me, like that is it. And I think Boyd is one of them players that he's one of them players that when he's out on the paddock, I see Cotter, I see Cripps, I see Cottrell. I know what I'm going to get. I know it's going to be the best of their abilities. I'm never going to question them on the paddock. I know they're going to give me 110%. And you need these players. Nick Newman's another one as well. Do you know what I mean? You just know he's going to give you a 7 out of 10 at his worst.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to what's in store for Jordan Boyd. What about those of you at home? Let us know. How do you see his season playing out in 2024?
Boydie.
There's a nice and easy one just to get us off the mark, mate. And we're off.
Boydie is a bit like Braden Maynard if Braden Maynard wasn't a prick.
I think Braden Maynard's a really nice, loving, caring person. I don't actually know him, but I feel like he'd be really nice and loving.
Maynard's one of them people, if you gave me $1 million and said that you can fight anyone in the AFL for charity, Maynard would be my number one pick.
Why?
Just irritates me. Looks like that kind of guy that, you know, you see a lot of people like this on Twitter. They talk a big game, but, you know, in reality, do you know what I mean? If they spilt your pint, they'd buy you 2 pints. Like, I think it's false bravado. So, yeah, you know what I mean? So, I mean,
Twitter's like the small minority becomes the majority of the voice. It's really funny. It's really funny paradigm shift.
Yeah, I mean, every club has them, though. You need them, don't you? You need the...
They are, yeah, exactly right. We're going to do Cory Durdin next because it's just been too long. It's been too long since we've spoken about him. So Cory Durdin, 34 games in total, born on the 14th of April, 2002. We got 11 matches out of him in 2023, Pommy. And I think the best way to sum up what happened in 23 is it just was unfortunately impacted due to injury, you know, multiple injuries. And it is what it is. It's the nature of the beast. And he enters his 4th season now, which is crazy to think about. Time seems to be really flying when you summarize careers every year. Where do you see Cory in the side, in the dynamic of the team in 2024?
Yeah, there were some nice little patches from Durds because he's really become that tackling machine in that forward half, which you saw when Owies first came in. That was Owies' role, and then they've converted him to more of the poacher. You saw in the early year of Vossi, he was kind of switching between Motters and Durds. And I think arguably you look at the Collingwood game and then you look at the Sydney game and particularly the St Kilda game this year, a big part of us winning that game was Durdin was that standard setter at the front half, not letting their halfbacks get any run. And it was a shame, really, because he missed probably the largest part where Cowton were kicking ass and taking names. And that's where we could have probably seen the one question mark about Durds. Can he smash goals in? And I think people forget about Durdin. All of his goals are pure opportunistic. He doesn't get the Joe de Gooses and things like that. Yeah. He's one of the few people in the forward half who shoots on sight, which I feel no disrespect to Motlop, I'm a big fan. I'd love to see a bit more selfishness and a bit more backing himself. We've seen Durdin kick them goals straight out of nowhere, just saying, right, I'm going to do it. I think this year is that year where I think the small forwards is probably the only position on the field that is probably the greatest debate between the fans. If you had to pick 3 small forwards, let's say, I think you'd get every small forward we have on the list in one of them 3, whoever you ask. And I think Durdin will be looking at this going, nah, I've got this. I can snag. Got my defensive pressure. The system looks good. This is my year. And I expect big things from Durds because I think he's got no pressure on him. Everyone's forgotten about him.
I agree in his turnaround. I don't know how much you look at his contract status and say, oh, is that pressure? I mean, it's a contract year for him, I'm pretty sure. And I don't know. I feel like out of all the small forwards, he's the best one in terms of his defensive application. Offensively, there's probably a few others that they do. They kick more goals than him, whatever. But I think he's got the base level of defensive action there. Once he starts getting more of the ball and not, 20 touches a game, but if he can up the amount of times he gets the ball and impacts the game to, 11 to 13 times a game, I think he's a really well-rounded player. And for whatever reason, there's like a recency bias, and because he hasn't played that many games in the back end of the year, we kind of forget what he can do. But at his best, he really does help win games.
He doesn't. A big part of Voss's game plan is built on that lack of halfback run on the opposition, of trying to peg them in. And I get the impression with Durds that he's got that down pat and he enjoys it. More importantly, he enjoys it. You can see he prides himself on them tackles. He prides themselves on them late bumps. He prides himself on making it difficult. I wouldn't be surprised working with Orazio for a year. We know he can kick them goals from the pocket. We know he can kick them out the back of stoppages. He's done it many a time. Refining that, working with a guy who is incredibly good at doing that in Orazio Fantasia will only benefit him. And he's going to be one of them players that I'm looking at who might surprise. We had a few players last year who, by the end of the year, were locks to the best 22. Won't be surprised if Durdin says, you know what, this is my time. I'm going to steal it. And by the end of the year, everyone's going to regret sleeping on me. Yeah,
I agree. I know for sure he's made of the right stuff. He plays. We spoke about this with Alex Cincotta. He plays with a purpose. So does Durds. He plays with a real spirit and a vigor and an intensity. And also you've got to remember, rounds 2 all the way through to 11, that's his season. And then he played in round 24 against the Giants. So he played the first few wins and then played in the worst patch of the team's season. So I can only imagine with the team playing better, he's going to get more opportunity because he's not exactly in a role where the ball is being targeted at him. He's got to make it happen. And that's where I'm with you on the Orazio edition. I'm curious to see how much that's going to help him. I'm sure it will. But what I don't have as much pressure on him, or I don't think of him as much of a goal kicker as what I do a defensive forward. Having said that, what do you think is a realistic target for him? Like, is it a goal a game?
Yeah, I think when you look at our small forwards, I think you've got to look at it and be totally honest with yourself and go that is definitely a problem position in the terms of the output probably isn't there where it is with the other teams. And I think you do expect a little bit more with them. You look at Durds and he's not like averaging 1.3 goals a game last year is pretty impressive. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's not stinky. Do you know what I mean?
In a poor performing side.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's not like you're not looking at that and going, oh my gosh, he needs to change his career. Do you know what I mean? A goal a game is good. Still, by the end of the season, ranked top 15 for turnovers inside his own 50, enforced and tackles. So that's always a positive. I just think with Durds, I'd love to have seen him play them games when we were good.
Yeah.
And the ball was coming into the forward 50 with a bit of freedom. It wasn't a panic scrub kick. I think he would have benefited. We saw Owies get better. We saw Motlop get better. Durdin really didn't get that. He was feeding on scraps. So, like you say, he plays with anger. He plays with hurt. You can see he's playing with a bit of aggression. I wouldn't be surprised to see here. I think perceivably Motlop and Mr. Durdin should be looking at that 1.5 goals a game. I think there's nothing beyond them that they can't hit that as an ease.
Because I remember the conversations last year. I think we all went really premature and we said, all right, it's Durdin and Motlop. They're going to be the ones that carry us forward. And it almost feels like we've forgotten that narrative. I think this is the year the two of them lock themselves into the side. Durdin, for me, is going to have a bounce back year. He's just really going to stay healthy. He puts the work in, and provided that happens, I think Voss likes what he brings.
He's got a punch on Voss. You look at when he coached the young group at Port as well.
Yep.
Pressure is first in a lot of them young players. You see Butters, Rosie, they applied the pressure first, and then they started adding the other layers. Particularly Butters is a great example of when you listen to Hinckley and Voss's role of working predominantly with the first and second year players. Butters was probably third out of them kids, Dersma and Rosie. Rosie and Dersma got the kudos. Look at Butters now. He mastered the core fundamentals of being a defensive pressure beast and then went to another level. I wouldn't be surprised to see Durdin and Motlop benefit this year now that they've got that down pat. Both of them averaging very good defensive numbers. Both of them averaging a goal a game or more. I reckon you'll start to see it because the last back end of the season, it was a small forwards dream. We did start to see it. The ball started to come in earlier.
Yeah.
More freedom. I think that'll be the next evolution of this side. And Durdin and Motlop are two guys I'm looking at.
Yeah. Well, there you go. What about you? How do you look at Cory Durdin ahead of season 2024? Let us know.
Dirds could have been James Rowe.
There's your most improved player, 2024. Cory Durdin.
What's James Rowe doing now? Working at Coles?
James Rowe? He is, might be playing in a different league now.
If I went to South Australia right now and did my click and collect, he'd be coming out.
Imagine we took James Rowe instead of Durdin. Ugh.
I can.
We've done it before.
I can indeed.
What's up, Adrian Salerno?
Keep
Josh
missing
White.
Adrian. I like Adrian.
Yeah, I love when Adrian's popping about. For those of you who are here watching and weren't here on the last stream, we're going to film these obviously live now, and then I will edit these individually and upload them individually with highlights and the rest. So we're just bringing you in on the action. Pom, you watching the cricket? Are you into the cricket?
It's been on. I've got to say, it hasn't been paramount. At this time of year, I'm quite tragic. I'm family based and EPL based.
Yeah, fair.
Give me a sec.
I was there this morning. Got there about 11:30, and I saw 6 wickets. I watched them. It was great.
Look at Terry. You've converted him. He's going to the cricket now. Hey, he's going to the cricket.
I was in a box today. That was no good.
He's going to be freaking an MCG member before you know it. We're going to totally lose him. Absolute class traitor.
Actually, somebody, I actually don't know who this person is. Somebody messaged me on Instagram, said typical Carlton sellout, because I was in the Combank yellow deck on Tuesday. So hey, when you win a competition, you're not saying no. You're not turning down free tickets to the cricket.
Terry, hey, check you out. Terry's like just he's evolving, isn't he? Evolving. Before you know it, he's going to have rental properties and raising the price by 20%, making people homeless at Christmas.
Spinning the wheel for the new burbs. Spinning the wheel for the new tenant.
You know what I mean? He's going to be leaving the burbs behind. Now, I did enjoy. I've got to say, Terry told me he'd won the Combank tickets, and then like one of the first posts I saw was some old guy complaining how the yellow combank thing is a scourge on cricket and it's just a load of young people getting pissed. And I was like, way!
The boys.
Honestly, if you don't go to the Boxing Day test and get plastered, are you really doing it right? Let's be honest. I mean,
I can't.
First day of the test.
I think I realized that on Tuesday, from what I saw. I mean, I wasn't drinking a lot, but I had a few beers, and I noticed most people don't actually go to watch the cricket. They just go there to go have a drink, which is fine.
Headingley first day, you're just there next to the guy with the trumpet chanting and getting absolutely blotted. Let's be honest. Yeah. I mean, and then just going mental when a wicket goes.
Couldn't believe when Travis Head went out the way he went out today.
Terry getting into it. I mean, what is the score? Didn't Australia have like a mini collapse?
Mate, they literally shut the bed. I watched them shit the bed and just have a bubble-a-thon.
Oh dear. I mean, yeah. Boxing Day test though, it is iconic. To a pom, it's iconic because that is like Christmas Day evening to us.
There's nothing like playing the English, mate. Lucinda, I like tennis. Yeah, I don't mind a bit of tennis.
I watch it like I watch all sports. Would I say I am incredibly excited about the tennis? Probably not, but I do watch the slams.
Yeah. I haven't thought about this. Which player in 2024 can we not afford to have a Lewis Young style season?
I'm guessing you mean, Adrian, like hype train reaches its plateau and he falls off a cliff. So whose hype train is high at the moment?
Ollie Hollins.
Ollie? You know who does come into my mind straight away? Tom de Koning.
Yeah. Good call.
Back end of the year, we've all got on the TDK train, haven't we? And if that TDK train derails... Oh no.
Yeah, Nick Newman for Adrian. I don't see Nick Newman having a year at the end of the year where we're like, wow, he was no good this year. I think he's just found a way to find that minimum standard. You know, Lewis Young, if you remember, well, the way I remember Lewis Young and the story developing, we were so kind of heartbroken, quote unquote, about the Jones situation. It was so unique. We lost Liam Jones, who was our clear, number 2 defender next to Jacob Wiedering. And so there was almost this big sense of patience with Lewis Young because we knew he had like big shoes to fill, but he did a really good job in 22. And then I think the team started playing terribly and everyone just copped it. And he never came back in the side. So
we've done some shit streams on here. Do you know what I mean? We had to do a stream because fucking Liam Jones refused a vaccination and retired. No other club has to deal with the shit we do. No, I agree though. The way I look at it is I think, Adrian, you've got a good point there. And why I say TDK is because Lewis Young, if we go back to that time, Jones retired, Marchbank saw grass, fucking did his knee.
Yeah.
Kemp was raw and we didn't know what he was. And McGovern, like, literally was a 20K time trial away from missing the year. So he was like, literally, he had to be good. It was like, you have to play key position. You have to be good. You can't not be. I think TDK is in the similar style that our ruck depth is only manageable because TDK went up a level and probably in some ways superseded Pittonet, which is a huge dub. But if he suddenly plateaus and doesn't find form or loses it, you're relying on Pittonet to stay fit for the whole year. And you're hoping Hudson O'Keefe, Murkoff, or JSOS can hold and end up for the whole year. Like, yeah, that's my concern. I don't think it'll happen, but yeah, if you said that I could guarantee someone be good all year, TDK would be the one that I'd probably save.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we'll need Lewis Young 2024. We'll need him. I can just see it.
Lewis Young's got like massive injury. Well, not or a suspensions that Wheater in a final, and he comes in and he has an absolute blinder. Do you know what I mean? Like we all panic. Brisbane at Gabba, we're all like, oh shit, it's Marchbank and Young, and then he has an absolute day out.
Yeah.
He's got that written all over him.
He really does. Yeah. I wouldn't sleep on Lewis Young. I think it's a long, it's a short career, but it's a long time. And I don't think the story has been written fully yet with Lewis Young.
He's likable as well, isn't he, Lewis? He's got a real likable demeanor. I watch the besties. He's always on that.
Love Lewis.
Maybe that's why he's dropped. He spends too much time on that. And maybe he should start playing footy. But there's something likable about him, isn't he? He's just like, I don't know, it brings out the dad in me. I just want to give him a cuddle one time. It's all going to be all right.
Love a bit of Lewis Young. Yeah. You know who else I love, Pom?
Who?
I love Mark Pittonet. And...
Oh, so we're doing. That's not the segue.
No, we're live. So Pitto's played 59 games. He's born on the 3rd of June, 1996. 5 career goals. We didn't quite see one in 2023. You explained this to me in a really fascinating way on the phone recently. He is the better ruckman in the ruck contest. And he and Tom complement each other so well with what their strengths are, which is really why I think we have this conversation about who's the number one ruckman seemingly every second week on the show.
It's horrible, isn't it? Because if you actually like condense it to just his ruck work, it's amazing. But then it's like after the ruck contest, you might as well just grab someone from the cheer squad to play on the ground and it would have the same output. To be honest, it's definitely a fitness thing with Pittonet. And you saw that in a way, his lack of fitness last year probably made TDK a better footballer because maybe TDK's known that Pittonet's going to take the harder ruck contests. And TDK started to really dominate and help him out. There's still a part to play, though, with Pittonet. His ability to win the hit-outs is amazing, and it's definitely a fitness thing, because I've been to a lot of training sessions with you, Terry, and it was real nice to watch him at training when we went, just continually do laps. He did look fit. He looked toned, and there's no doubt about it. If we can just unlock his work around the ground, we know what TDK can do around the ground. We know Voss is set on a 2-ruck system, whether we like it or not. That is, Voss has mentioned it many a time. He's a 2-ruck man. So we need Pittonet to be fit and firing, and there's no doubt about it. He gets first use, but we're probably too good now to hide a player not doing anything around the ground. And at times last year, it was almost barbaric, wasn't it? Let's be honest. To be nice, it was a piss take at times.
I think doing the ratings with you in that last, because I think he got hurt in the Gold Coast game, and then we didn't see him until Collingwood round 20. And there was just a noticeable difference in his heat map. We were doing the ratings, and the heat map was literally the center circle, and that was it.
God bless him.
Yeah, but like he's got the attributes to be a better marker around the ground. I don't understand I don't see how that can't improve. I don't see this as the peak of his career. And for whatever reason, I feel like that gets lost in the conversation. Like he is a hardworking ruckman. He's strong. He's got this really good gift in the ruck contest. I feel like you can learn. He doesn't need to be a star around the ground, but he just needs to be a little bit more than what he is now, which I don't think it's out of the question for him to do in 2024.
Yeah, I think if you go back to 2022, before he had another niggle after the Fremantle game, you look at that. That's probably the Pittonet that we signed, because you look at his 2021, it was pretty solid as well.
Yes, it was.
He was being that extra option up forward. He was sliding down behind the ball. And also worth noting that Clarkson loved this guy at Hawthorn. like, was a huge rap on him. So it's definitely injury and fitness issues. It has to be. And there's no way last year. It was really obvious, particularly that Melbourne game, which is the one that looked like I just chucked a dart on the heat map. And there was like one solitary blob. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there was the kid with the bongos in the cheer squad who touched the ball more than Pittonet, and he played like 78% of the game. It's quite a concern. But we have seen it from him, and there's no doubt for me that Pittonet, we saw it in 2021 particularly. It was that emergency option, slot him forward, and he annoyed people. And it has to be stated, we did come to his defence in the ratings. There's times Carlton do deploy him, and he doesn't do anything, but he does take people out of the game because he's a huge unit. Like Pittonet, he ate his steak and veggies as a kid. So he's another player, C. Durdin. I think Carlton fans have not taken him for granted, forgotten about him just because of where he is. He looks super fit, and I hate saying that, but he looks super good. If he can get good and get really right, I feel like he could be the missing jigsaw piece at times.
For sure. I mean, his 2023 season, he took 3 marks on 4 occasions in a single game. And I think if we can see those numbers become 5 in a game on multiple occasions, I just think he's got it in him. I think he's got it in him. I don't actually know exactly what the injury that he had that he was carrying. It was leg-related, knee. By the end of the season, he was strapped up in a way that is clearly not a... it was clearly hindering him and his ability to move around the ground. So, yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's just about doing that full preseason and getting into the season, you know, without any niggles, because he plays such a brutal game. He's at a heightened risk of hurting himself every year.
Yeah, it's a fair call. Like, we know what he can do, and it's like some people don't like the hit out to advantage stat, rah. I don't really care. The facts are facts, right?
Mm-hmm.
A BNF winner at Box Hill Hawks, right?
Yep.
Very good. We know he's best. It gives Carlton first use. The big issue is it was getting a bit laughable last year that he'd win it, and then we didn't see him. Do you know what I mean? Which he can't do, and that's what we were complaining about TDK. If people remember at the start of last year, he's doing stuff around the ground. His ruck work, he isn't dominating. Once he added that layer and he started taking the Michaela out of players like Max Gorn and stuff, we started to love TDK, and we're like, wow, this is the TDK we bought. There's no doubt in my mind if Pittonet can hit that straps and then TDK keeps it up and goes up another level, which I think there's a few levels TDK can go up. You only have to look at Luke Jackson and Darcy when they get it right. Having that guy that can beat one person up and then outrun you, even though their midfield is pants, isn't it? Let's be honest, compared to Carlton's. You see how they can stay in the game and control it. I think Pittonet, let's hope he stays right, because there's no doubt he's incredibly talented. He's an incredibly talented guy. He just needs to get it right.
No doubt. Yeah. I think I'm done trying to forecast what's the best ruck strategy. I feel like it'll depend on who's available and who we're playing. And those two interchangeables will consistently show us different looks. I don't think we are a team where our ruck combo is going to be the same all year round.
No, and I mean, I do get the feeling that in an ideal world, if you could stay fit, this could be huge.
Yeah.
In the terms of him and Mr. Pittonet and Mr. De Koning. I think they could be good. I mean, if you want to see what I'm saying, go and watch 2018 VFL Grand Final. Watch a fit and firing Pittonet. He was best on ground. He was sensational. Like how he backed up his other ruckman, how he dominated in the ruck, and his body work. And you could see, like, he looked like a scene out of Saving Private Ryan, the D-Day scene at times when he was walking around. Like, if you told me just after that hit out he stepped on a landmine, I'd believe you. It was insane. Like, he was definitely injured and hurting. And if he can get right, I really get excited where he could be.
He's a man I want to go to war with. I want him side by side in the trenches because he loves it. So, yeah, that's Pitto. You guys watching at home, how do you watch Mark Pittonet, and how do you feel about him going into season 2024? Let us know.
Love the pit dog.
Love the pit dog, mate. Mr. Worldwide.
I'm nasty to Pittonet because I know he can take it.
Yeah, yes. He's such a nice guy. He's so nice.
Got to say, at one of the functions when I had a beer and he was there, he's one of the funniest human beings as well.
Yeah,
like his personality is elite. Like in another world, I'd be his best mate. Like he's the kind of guy that I want to have a beer with because his stories are just another level.
When I first ever spoke to him, I was like, I liked him so much more after actually speaking to him for the first time. I don't know. He's got a really warm soul.
He's another level. He's another level. Good salt of the earth human being. You need more of him in the world.
Yes, sir. Okay. Matt Owies. 19th of March, 1997 is his date of birth. He's played 49 games. His next one will be his 50th. He's given us 56 goals. And he was actually the leading goal kicker for our small forward brigade in 2023, Pommy. He kicked 27 goals from the 18 games that he played. For whatever reason, whenever there's discussion about the small forwards, I feel like he's an easy target for who would come out of the side from the small forward brigade. Whereas I think he is the reverse. He's such a professional. He's a national level athlete with the basketball background, obviously. Comes to footy a little late compared to his peers, but improves every single season since we've come into contact with him. And I don't see why he can't continue to improve incrementally for season 2024.
Different dimensions and different size, but he does remind me a lot of Carl Langford at Essendon. You speak to Carl Langford, Essendon fans about Carl Langford, and they're like, oh, he's pants. Oh, he's rubbish. But consistently their best goal kicker in that forward half. And they're starting to appreciate him now when they see how dross the rest of the players are around him. Always he's one of them players, and if he kicks 4, he should have kicked 5. If he kicks 10, it should have been 20. He is one of them guys that seems to be really underappreciated. And there was times last year where you look at Carlton play and he looked like our only goal menace. And a lot of his goals, I know, like, I do remember the Melbourne game. Everyone was like, oh, there were simple goals there. You go back and watch it, he got himself in the position to kick the goals. And you look at the other small forwards and one of them's buying a hot dog. Do you know what I mean? The other guy is tying his shoelace at half back. And it's like he's got to be in there. He's got to be in there. But marvellous, I think, the intuition, how much he's learned. He is the kind of guy that if we're having this conversation this time next year and Motlop and Durdin are ahead of him, wow, we've got a good forward line. But
yeah,
the guy kicked 1.5 goals last year. What more can you ask for? The guy is a small forward. He's mastered his craft. I really like Owies, and he gets no love.
Not enough. This is his equality. I'm with you 100% on this. His running patterns don't get enough kudos. As I've been putting together highlights packages, when I've come to Charlie Curnow, there have been at least 3 to 4 goals I can count straight off the top of my head where Charlie's kicked it over the top to Owies. And it's a positioning thing. It's an ability to read the play, the ball. And it's definitely come from his ability as a point guard, I believe. I think his vision of where the play is going to unfold is at a really high level. And I think the more he plays this game, the better he gets at it. And I think the professionalism and what he's experienced in his professional career and his athletic career, I should say, give him an advantage over the rest in his position.
You watch the Doggies game, it's a clinic. And thank God for people like Equality. It's a clinic of being a small forward. And half the time, Carlton didn't even hit him. Like, you look at some of them, particularly the second half, the third quarter, he makes some tremendous leads that if they just lowered their eyes, it's an easy hit up. They go long, they miss him. It's a selfless job. And I think, I don't want to go Australian media and go basketball has an influence, but it does. It does. We see Rochelle, his soccer background, his understanding of space. You see basketball, small box, you've got to find space. He understands it. He has a good read. And I think it needs to be noted. We talk about development at this football club. Look at Owies. Go and watch a VFL game when he first came in. Guy ran around like a headless chuck. You look at him now.
Yeah.
He looks like he's been playing this game for 30 years. He understands his role, and he's one of them players. See Nick Newman, see this guy. If we can get 2 or 3 players ahead of him, wow. Because at the moment, they tick every AFL box.
Yeah, he drives the standards, no doubt about that. And I think 2023 was the year I feel like he would have gained a lot of confidence from this year. I really do. Yeah, I think trust with his teammates, in particular those forwards, that forward dynamic will get better as they play together. And I don't know, I think at the start of 23, it was, maybe all 3 of the smalls can play. Now, I don't think the conversation's very much like that. I just look at him in a pool of small forwards where you're definitely going to see 2 of them on any given week, maybe 3, depending on the opponent or the circumstance that we're facing, for that upcoming round. But what's the map for him, do you think, in 24?
It's a tough one. I mean, he's currently, you'd say, number 1 contender at the small forwards.
Yeah, he's earned that.
Off resume. I'd say it's hard to go past him. I think the big thing with Owies is he went at 53% goal accuracy. So as good as the year was, it could have been so much better.
Yeah.
And that's probably what leads the door ajar to players like Motlop, who are like, we can do this. We can beat him. But for me, ideally, keep doing what you're doing, and it's only going to make Motlop, Fantasia, and Durdin better, because at the moment, this is what's so important about him. He outputs nearly every game. Motlop's in and out. Durdin, in and out. Fantasia, we don't know if he can play 20 odd games a year. That is what you need there, because if he is the breadwinner at the moment, the yellow jersey of small forwards, for someone to surpass him, they've got to match him and be better. And that is exciting. If we're having this conversation, I tell you now, I'll go on record. If round 1 we're doing this video and we're talking about maybe it's time you delist Matty Owies at the end of his contract, Carlton have won a flag. If he's no longer in the top 3, Carlton have won a flag, because Motlop, Durdin, and Fantasia have gone cocoa bananas.
Wow. I love him. I love everything he stands for. And you mentioned development. That was a theme that was spoken about in a really disappointing tone for many years. He is one of the better development stories at the club in the last 5 years. I can't think of many better than him from where he was to where he is. There are obviously a couple more, but I immediately think of him, given he was a Category B rookie, and 5 years later, he's the leading goal kicker for our small forwards. So I'm pumped for him. I'm excited for the attention he started getting in 23, but more so for the respect he's starting to get a little bit more as we get closer to 2024. And he's going to be an important piece. What about you at home? How do you see Matty Owies for the upcoming season? This is good.
Owies.
He lifts the spirits of our forwards and isn't afraid to get in the face of Oppo supporters either. Everyone calls him a pest, but he's our pest. True, we didn't have a pest. We don't really have many players that the other opposition hate, do we?
We don't have many players as well. We know
Get
how to
under the
celebrate.
skin, like a little tip rat.
Yeah, we don't have any players who know how to celebrate as well. It's got to be said, Carlton, as a celebration of goals, are probably the worst club in the land. Let's be honest. Some of them are pants celebrating.
True.
At least always gives it something.
He does. the image of him celebrating with Jeremy Howe in the foreground, one of my favorite images of the year.
See, it means something. I mean, we talked about it with Boyd. These untraditional routes and not getting the love, praise as a kid, it really shines through when they play the game because they have an appreciation of this ain't easy.
Yeah.
Means something.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. Last but not least, Patrick Cripps. Patrick Cripps, 24 matches in season 2023. Paddy Cripps is born on the 18th of March, 95. Played 183 games. I was watching a replay last night, a couple of quarters from different games, and the commentary was talking about these players who had played X amount of games without a final. That was all eliminated in 2023. But I think the story for Cripper right now is the development of his leadership and where it was and where it is and where it's seemingly going to go.
100%. I think if you want to see the Cripps that turns me on, go to finals Cripps. Yeah. That was a man that was saying to you, he trusts the guys around him. Yeah. He's no longer the breadwinner of that midfield. He's the father of that midfield. He's got his little sons, Walshy, Chera, to do the exciting stuff. He's there in that fatherly, supportive role to protect them. The tackles he made in the Brisbane game and really set the standard, even though we lost it. The Melbourne and the Sydney game, he was very pressure-based, particularly towards the back end of the year. We saw him working a lot more deep behind the ball as well, working defensively and really instilling that pressure. You're starting to see the transition. I think it's really interesting, and Peter V nails it. Trent Cotchin copped so much hate when he went from that 40-touch midfielder, right, going back to being the 18-touch winner with 8 tackles and distributing the ball. And for me, forget about your Brisbane 44-goal Cripps. No one cares. Keep it. Watch the highlight reel. I don't care. The Cripps that excites me is the Cripps that's the dad of the midfield. He's a workhorse. He's the best blocker of the ball in the league. He's the best extractor in the league, giving the ball to his mates, Chera and Walsh and Doc. This is the Cripps, and I think Cripps is due a huge year this year. I think you're going to see him. He really trusted that midfield. Post round 12,
yeah, he did.
You saw a different Cripps. And that Cripps there, he doesn't win Brownlows. He wins flags. And at the end of the day, you want a pretty little statue outside somewhere, you have to win a flag. And Cripps is well on his way. Well on his way.
There was a clear difference. There was a clear lift in his ability to make others around him better for me when I watched him in 2023. 22, he was enormous. Kicked a lot of goals. I think it was a career high for goals kicked in a season. Kicked the 20 goals. Won the Brownlow medal. 2023, he plays the season as the Brownlow medalist. Kicks the 9 goals for the season. But I think he's past that point in his career where he needs to maybe prove to himself or to the external that he belongs amongst the conversation in, who's the best player in the league. I think we're past that now. And now that I see him making others around him better, that for me is a real mature leader. And for me, leadership is empowering those around you to get the best out of themselves. And that's what I think we've started to see for the first time. And then there's also just looks more settled in himself, the way he talks. It's come a long way. It's all these little things. And really, he's the veteran of the team. One of the 2 or 3 veterans that we would call in the team.
Spot on. I mean, you look, my favorite thing about Cripps is that you listen to Fife and he always talks about he'd give up his Brownlows to win a flag. He'd give up his Brownlows, and Cripps really embraced that role in my heart, that he was no longer the Great White Hope. He was the leader. And it felt like after that bye round and we had that horrible Essendon game, there was really an onus there of Cripps is like, yeah, I trust these boys. These boys do it. And people talk, and Marcus makes a good point. People talk about his injuries and always makes me laugh. People bring up the injuries, but this guy is one of the few midfielders in the league today below the age of 30 who was consistently ranked in the top 10 of all inside midfield stats for the last 5 years. And 3 of them years, people have been telling me that he's broken his rib, he's got massive issues. What scares me is if Cripps is fit and he can do that, what the hell do you think he's going to be doing? The numbers are going to be insane.
Well, that is where the management of his year comes to my mind, because look, it was unlucky. I still remember it. It was the last possession or the last play, the last minute against the D's the second time we played them, where I believe it was Brayshaw who he collided with, where he hurt the ribs. And whatever, it's just at the pointy end of the season, and I don't know. Have we had a proper confirmation of what had happened?
I don't think we have. What was it? Was it? Did they say it was a? Didn't they bruise ribs? Was the last
rib, crack ribs, whatever it was
bad. You could tell.
It would be really enticing to think of him getting to the finals without that type of hindrance. But if it's not that, it's probably something else once you get to that point. But the point is, I remember when he first started playing. Like, I remember all of his career. And from the moment I watched him play for the first time, I remember saying, oh man, that guy's born to play in grand finals. That's the style of game. It's perfect for him. Especially now that he's learnt the art of when to take on an opponent and when to hand it off. And I think his kicking also improved in the latter stages of the year. A lot of those hit-up kicks around the ground, he started lowering the eyes a bit, which I wanted to point out as well.
My 2 favourite games from Cripps last year, which were the games that the general media didn't give us a chance, were Melbourne, the round 22 and the semi-final. And that's the Cripps I like.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, there was a player called Roy Keane for Man United. Do you know what I mean? They were the type of players that turned me on. The guys that went in there and beat up the opposition engine room and said, nah, this is my midfield. He was outgunned in their particularly that round 22 game. Yeah. Melbourne were flying. They had all the pressure numbers. Cripps was sacrificing his game, getting there first, putting the stops on Viney to get the ball first, which allowed the other players to get ball in space. And that's what excited me about watching training before Christmas. You saw that was a big thing. Cripps and Hewitt were really being the protectors of the ball, letting Doc run at the ball with pace, letting Walsh run at the ball with pace, looking Chera. And when the ball is in their hands in space, suddenly you do it. And you get a lot of people, don't you, saying teams win flags and stuff like that. And like my pop used to say, if you want to say something obvious, have kids. Do you know what I mean? That's a good little expression to remember. If you're going to state the obvious, have kids. It'll come in useful. Doesn't work with adults. That is what wins you the flags. A player letting the good players have the ball, because you don't want Chera being in contested possession. You don't want Walsh in contested possession. You want them uncontested. And the best way our team does it, Hewitt gets the ball out, Cripps puts the block on. Cripps gets the ball out, Hewitt puts the block on. The guy we talked about, Pittonet, that's something you didn't see this year because his leg was strapped up. It was held on with sticky tape, but he was doing that a couple of years ago, getting in the way of players, and it was Cripps getting the ball in space. This year, potentially, if we can have Cripps, Hewitt, Pittonet shielding the ball, look out, because Walsh is going to tear a game open. Chera's going to tear a game open. And Doc, we started to see tear games open in the midfield. Suddenly, all that talk, Carlton's midfield is one-dimensional. Carlton's midfield becomes an absolute wrecking ball in the competition. And I don't say this because I'm a Carlton fan or because I'm on Blue Abroad. Carlton's midfield, in its pomp and circumstance, is the best midfield, bar none. No one can hold the torch. We are the Floyd Mayweather of this league. We can't be outgunned. We can't be hit. And that is a big part of it. And Cripps will be the general. And I can't wait to see him lift that cup because no one deserves that cup more than Cripps.
Yeah, it's the image, isn't it? Yeah. In a world, particularly in a sporting world, where player movement year after year becomes more relevant and more exercised. And, there was a period there where I think it was 2021 where there was the negotiations with the contract. And you look back on it now and, David Teague was obviously coaching at the time. And if you're on the inside, you're watching that ship sink after the ship before that sunk, after the ship before that sunk. So fair play for him sticking around, believing, and staying true to himself. And I think I do fear what it would have looked like had he not stuck fat. But I'm glad that he did. And I'm glad he set the tone for the rest of them to follow suit. And nothing but gratitude for Patrick Cripps, that's for sure.
You know what? He's broken the Judd Murphy curse. For 160 games, he was the Great White Hope.
Yeah.
He was Cripps or nothing. And thankfully, the coaching staff, the players united so he didn't end his career like Murphy, a shell of the former player. Judd having to leave the game on a stretcher, a great like that who's worked his arse off with a midfield that couldn't compete. And now he's going to get to have the fruits of his labour. And when he goes out to play, you can see Judd, his mentor, and Murphy, his great friend. He's living their dream. And now, hopefully, we get 5 years of Cripps specialising in what he does.
Yep.
And being able to win multiple of these bloody cups. Multiple of these bloody cups.
Born for finals. Born for grand finals. That's Patrick Cripps, your 2024 Premiership captain. Let us know how you see his year unfolding in the comments below. You like that one?
Got all excited, Dennis.
You like that one?
I did. Yeah.
I drank the Kool-Aid.
I mean this with all sincerity. I don't think there's a player in the league that deserves it. And this is me trying to put my Pommy in Oz YouTube channel neutral hat on. Just don't think there's a player like maybe Nat Fife. But I'd say Fifey and Cripps are the two players that probably deserve a flag more than any other players. Because, but I'd say Fife only now because he's playing for a side that's garbage. Cripps is. I feel for Cripps because as soon as Judd went down, it was all Cripps, wasn't it? The media narrative started it. Cripps has to be good. He couldn't grow up. He doesn't have the luxury of Walsh, where it's the icing, isn't it? Walsh, because we've got a lot of good players. He's never been able to grow up. He was thrust into this position almost from birth, and I really hope. I know it will happen, but part of me, I just hope it happens soon. I want to be able to underline it so he's got it in the mantelpiece. It's there because there's no one who deserves it more than Cripps. No one.
The framed photo, whoever takes the photo of him with the cup, standing on wherever he's standing, it's going to be a special time. I can see it so clearly, can't you? Like so clearly, I can see it happening.
I can see the roar on his face. That exhilaration where, like, you saw it in the final, when Carlton cemented actually playing finals. You could see the relief in his mind. Finally, they can't write them soppy articles. I'm the best player never to play finals. Can you imagine the relief on his face when he looks around at his boys and he remembers going to play GWS at Marvel and losing by 100 to 12 players? Or he looks at 2016, them years, and he has to look at them and go, we've done it. That the light, we've gone through the light. We are here. We are. Can you imagine the exhilaration? And I think he's going to get better. I'm a firm advocate men particularly get better when we have kids. Our decision making gets better. He's going to be a dad. He's not just been a daddy of the players. He's been the daddy in real life. He's going to mean so much to him. I can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see it. I'll cry.
Yeah, mate, we're all going to cry. We are all going to cry that day when number 17 comes home. Yeah.
I always watched that round 22 Melbourne game though, because our midfield was getting peppered. It was coming from everywhere. And you look at that Cripps there. That was a new Cripps. That was a Cripps who was like, right, I could go in here and have 40 touches, but you know what? I'm not. I'm going to go in here and protect the fucking ball, and everyone's going to have 20, because if 4 people have 20, that's better than 4 of them having 10 and me having 40. And that is the one that wins you the flag. That mentality, that I'm an arsehole. I'm an arsehole. I'm going to sacrifice, boys, for you guys to prosper. That's the Cripps. That's the Cripps that wins us the flag, baby. That's the missing piece. And I'm happy.
Cripps and Doc. He'll call up Doc as well, and they'll both lift up the cup.
I always have this vision, you know, that Cripps, Coles, Murphy, and Judd. They're there. And he's like, I can see the
all
picture
together.
Of, boys, we did it. We finished what we started together.
Finished what we started. Does Gibbs get the call?
He's had his favour, you know, when our team gave him 40, the cheer squad cheered him kicking a goal, and then we carried him off after fucking up our 3rd opportunity at finals. Much love to you, Gibbs, but please don't be there at the grand final.
Oh, goodness me.
Do you remember that?
I think, you know what? It's also an interesting sign of the time. So I've done 5 previews, well, now 10, but like a bunch with you, Paul, Joe. Cripps would be easily one of the first 15 previews names to get thrown up. We almost had to put him on the radar for this batch because no one had sort of like bookmarked him as someone that they definitely wanted to do a preview for. And I think that's a sign of the times. You know, it's not just Cripps anymore. It's such a well-rounded team now.
Yeah, do
you remember 18? It was literally Cripps. Murphy was at the end. You know, Charlie was still raw, figuring it out. Like, it was literally him. Just him. Aaron Mullen was running around.
Doing this job with you, Terry, there's times that, if I'm totally honest, you know, I could have lambasted every clown wearing blue but this bloke. Yeah. And, you know, I'd love to know what happened at Kerno camp. I would. But, I mean, I really do hope Cripps stood up at one point and said, I don't want to fucking lift my daughter or son and feel pain because you bastards can't be arsed. And you killed Judd, you killed Murphy, you're killing me. My body is falling apart because you stand by and watch me do it. And it was great to see after round 12, everyone did it. And that's so big. That's so big because he's more dangerous. He's more dangerous. And I always say Melbourne are easy to beat because you know 2 of them are going to do it. You know it's Viney or you know it's Cripps. And you know or you know it's Oliver. And you know Viney, he's going to get sidetracked by trying to dig someone under the armpit.
Yeah.
What was great last year is Hewitt would get the ball, Cripps would get the ball, Walsh would get the ball. Then you've got flying Sam Doherty getting the ball. Suddenly it was hard. It was like, which one of them's going to kill us? And that's why I stand by what I say. I don't think any midfield in the comp comes close to Carlton on its day. And you can't make an argument for me that it is that good.
Best in the league.
Best in the league. Oh, what's happened? December the 28th, and I'm already excited. What a melt.
Yeah. The Brownlow medal winning gloss comes off, which I think works in his favour as well. But we'll see.
He's got it done, hasn't he? He's got it done though. Like
it's done. The individual, it's done. He doesn't need to play for individual awards. Not that not that he did, but the Brownlow medal just kind of puts him in that upper echelon of the midfielders, because it is a midfielders award.
I think it was huge for him in the terms of he probably didn't get the kudos, did he?
Yeah, because the team was shit.
Because every time Cripps is in the media, but he doesn't hit targets. He's not Lockie Neal. I mean, do you remember when he won the Brownlow and it was like, but Dustin Martin's 2017, and it's like total different fucking player. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what are you on about? Like, have a word with yourself. But I mean, yeah, I remember. I think it was David King talking about like rating Brownlows, and I think it was David King. It was saying, but Cripps isn't as potent as Dusty, and I'm like, it's like comparing a goldfish to a dolphin.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Like, why doesn't my goldfish jump out and cartwheel? It's a goldfish, mate. But but Cripps is the best at what he does, and it's a shame. You see it with sport though. Casemiro, Rodri, centre defensive midfielders, they never get love because we'd rather see some clown Rabana a 30-yard ball down the wing. But at the end of the day, without your Rodris, Man City don't win titles. Without your Casemiros, you don't win titles. Without your Declan Rices, you don't win titles, right? And the workhorses are a real fans love. We love them. And Cripps is the selfless lover of that team.
Yeah. Cripper. Wow. The veteran. It's Daddy Cripps now, isn't it?
Oh, mate, when he holds his daughter or son in his hand, you watch him go up another level of appreciation.
Yeah. Oh, Daddy Cripps, mate. Where you at? Round 1.
Mate, and I think he was like a dad, wasn't he? Round 12 after last year, he was a dad.
Uncle Patrick.
Well, he looked like a dad. The way he G'd players up. You could see him having them one-on-ones with players in the contest. That's what excited me this year at training. Him pulling Hollands over, Ollie, and explaining things. You started to see that I'm the veteran now. If you do this or you do that, this will help you. And he's got a lot of experience, hasn't he? I mean, he's pretty much, you'd say every win Carlton had 2016 to 2019 was probably Cripps. Not many players can say that, but he probably won every fucking game we played.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean?
That's true.
Not many players can say that, but like he can probably say, I won these games on my own. Thanks. Cheers, boys.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's us, mate. There's a Thursday, the 28th of December little stream. Have you got any resolutions on your cards?
Don't really do New Year's resolutions. I want to have less melts in 2024. As I'm getting older, I find other people's actions piss me off more. So, do you know what I mean? I'm starting to become angry man shouts at clouds. 2024 is probably going to be like a detox from morons.
Okay. Got to protect your energy, mate. I get it.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So that's probably going to be Pom's 2024. Deal with less melts.
Okay.
That's a good resolution for you all, that. Something
Less
that you can stick by that actually benefits you.
Yeah, protect your energy. Cut out the bad energy. It's going to be easy when we win 20 games. I thought about something in the shower, I think I was. You know when like your great ideas come in the shower? So we sat through a 2-win season, right?
Yeah.
The pendulum swings, does it not?
What, and we sit through a 2-loss season?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, fucking hell, Terry. It's 28th of December.
A 2-loss season. Imagine. And the thing is, we've already sat through the 2-win season. So we've done it. We've lived through it. It's a blessing.
It's a weird thing, isn't it? Because there's something about winning. Like, my Man United have been absolutely horrific this year at times. And it's amazing what a win does. The Villa win was really good. Shout out to Peter, who's a Villa fan. Sorry for bringing that up, but it does lift you. You do forget how good winning is. And last season was amazing, wasn't it? I mean, that run from like round 14 onwards, when we really started to believe, it was incredible. And then just to think, can you imagine a 2-loss year? I actually want to, because my son actually asked me a question, because he's at the age now where he doesn't believe Man United were good, which is a bit like me when you guys from 95 told me we won flags. Like, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? But you do behave. We've never been good. But I was saying to my son that I would love to go back to baby Pom and try and find the point where I just expected to win as a Man United fan, where I just expected it, because now I can't see us winning. But there was a point in my time where every Saturday I'd get up and go, we win this weekend. And I said to my son, when that happens with Carlton and when it happens with United, we've got to be careful that we don't allow it to happen. Yeah. That we don't, in our hearts, allow us to take for granted we're going to win every week. Every week we come in with a respect for the opposition, but also a respect that this could end tomorrow. And when it does, we're going to find our way out. Because I was like, that's where it's dangerous, because then it becomes toxic. And Man United is Carlton at 2018. You've got fans going, told you we beat Villa. And it's like their reasons for beating Villa were absolutely stupid. And it's like, you have no idea about football. Broken clocks are right twice. It's important to stay grounded. That's where I hope we've got a good experience as a fan base, haven't we? We've been through the highs. We've been through the lows.
Well, that's the other thing about this group. The top 15 in the team, I think, have been there the whole time on the list. Like, we haven't lost too many of our best players, if any of them at all. Let's be serious. Like, Fisher was probably one of the best that we lost.
Do you reckon they all hate Ollie Hollands? Because Ollie Hollands are probably like, Ollie Hollands probably like, the fuck are you complaining about? This is easy.
I know. Isn't that funny? It's like, debut season, I think it was 18 games or 19 games, whatever it was, and finals. So when's the last time we had a kid play finals?
Like he must have thought Carlton fans were weird, wasn't he? When he got booed off round 12, going, I only lost 2 games in a row. What the fuck's wrong with you? All right. Cripps must talk to him and go, you should have been here when we had 22 players. GWS had 16. One of them couldn't even walk, and they still kicked 6 goals to 1 in the final quarter.
Ollie. Ollie was probably booing in the crowd in 2018 or 2018 when we lost to Fremantle and we were up down 70 at halftime.
Yeah, it must be hard for Cripps and Doc and some of the senior players.
Ollie, you should have been here when McGovern wasn't on the goal line against Gold Coast.
You should have been here against GWS, where Carlton decided to move Harry to the wing and Gibbons full forward. Did you know what I mean? Like honestly, it must annoy them though. Some of the senior players thinking when they come off Essendon and him like, oh my god, this is the lowest I've ever felt. And Cripps is like, you're taking the piss, mate. 2018 Marvel. That was fucking well worse than this. What you on about?
So true. It's so true. Like, who else is in that group? So I think Cincotta probably applies to that. And Binzy's going to absolutely love it.
Can you imagine players, though, like Ashton Moore, like Carlton get to a grand final this year? Like, he's never going to know suffering and pain, is he? He's going to be like, pretty easy, this caper, isn't it?
You know what? It's good to have a mix of those with the trauma. You need those guys like, you don't know what it was like, man. You weren't there, man.
Yeah, it's going to be like Vietnam vets in the background. Doc going, you weren't there. Like, can you imagine though? Like Ashton Moore, should he play in a grand final this year? Can you imagine? Like, he's going to be like, fucking it! I can't believe we get paid for this, lads.
Yeah, man.
And like Cripps is going to be like, what?
I've got another random question. Is there a player that you can chant, "We saw you cry on the tally" for an opposition? Have we seen anyone cry on the tally?
Didn't Lockie Neal have a blub at some point. I'm sure I've seen Lachie Neale cry.
Hmm.
Who looked the most distraught at the grand final? Someone will have done.
Because I kind of want to see it. I want to see you chant it. Was there like a Hawthorn or a North Melbourne player crying? Nah.
Well, I mean, there was the Melbourne guy, wasn't there? Because didn't one of the players say something about his sister who passed away? But you can't mock that. We can't mock that, unfortunately.
Yeah, no.
We're not in England anymore.
Oh, yeah, Nick Dacos. We did see him cry on the telly. I just think it's a great chant.
Sing it about.
Huh?
A few fan channels I could sing it about. If you want.
So you cry on the channel.
But then again, they could fire back at me, to be fair.
Yeah.
So got to keep it closed doors.
We've all had meltdowns. What would you say your biggest meltdown has been?
Collingwood 2020, wasn't it? 2021. That was pretty big.
You know what? I want to see it right now.
Oh, for fuck's sake, Terry. Come on.
I want to see it. It was Carlton, Collingwood.
2021. It'd be that or Adelaide. Adelaide was probably the most angry you've seen me. 2021 is probably the most deflated you've seen me.
Fan cams. I want to find it. I'm going to find it right now.
Terry. It's just fucking finding pleasure in pain. I've had some overreactions, I'll be honest. I'm not going to lie.
Round 2, 2021.
If that's saved on my part, I was going to say, if that's saved on me.
Nick, Paul. Pom. From memory, your phone was dying.
Yeah,
There we go.
Terry, everything was dying at this point.
So I believe, if I've got the story right, this was the last game you attended.
This is what they've done to me.
I hope this sound works. Let's have a look.
This is what they've done to me.
Hey, mate.
You know, how you doing?
Been a lot better. Give you the hot tip.
Mate, I mean, honestly, I'm going to keep this short and sweet tonight so other people can speak. But, like, fuck me, man. I mean, that's a disgrace. This club, one of the proudest clubs in the world. I mean, I fell in love with this club because of my father-in-law, a dotty old man who was proud and was heartbroken that he didn't have someone to pass this happiness on to because none of his kids like football and like Carlton. And, you know, I felt honoured to take it on. When I was there, when I saw that elimination final, when I saw Judd do the things he did, I felt honoured that I could keep it on and carry it on in my family and keep that on because that's a big thing. But when I see fucking Lachie Plowman have 4 goals on him and a member of the cheer squad say it's not fucking funny, Lachie, and he nudges fucking Jordan De Goey and then laughs at that fan while I'm sat there, that is a fucking disgrace. When I see Patrick Cripps freaking give us team talk and then run up to his little fucking buddy, Zach Fisher, and have a giggle going, oh, it's quite cool, this, we're 3 goals down. That is a fucking disgrace. It is an absolute aberration today that everyone who watches this show, I've met about 7 of you today, and I really appreciate you coming out and saying hello. That means the world to me, even though I was nearly in tears. But you guys saying, I watched your jumper punch and the guys to worry about, does Teague watch that? Because I don't think he knows. How the hell does a Pom who's watched this game for 10 years know more than the fucking coach? This club is an absolute joke. There is players in this team that don't want to be there. I have had the privilege of watching high-level sport close up for 10 years as a player. And there is players there that don't care. They don't want it. They don't worship this Guernsey at all. It's just another job. There's people running when there's joggers next to them. In the 4th quarter, Levi was in no man's land the entire game because running was a little bit hard. I've seen Doherty in the back line today shrug his shoulders and Wiedering drag Plowman into position in a stoppage. My own captain shrugged his shoulders and Wiedering dragged the player where he needed to be. This is an absolute joke, and I want to apologise to everyone at Blue Abroad for being confident and saying that there was going to be a change in a POM. and I wasn't going to lay into these guys because these guys don't deserve your fucking respect because they go out there every week and take the piss out of the Guernsey. Tonight, Collingwood wanted it more than us. That's simple. And why didn't we want it? We were both final sides. The difference was Buckley said they were going to take the game to Carlton and see how much we wanted it. And tonight, we saw how much this club wants you. It's an absolute joke. It's a shame that some of the greatest names in this fucking AFL has ever played for this club. And I'm talking to people like Cooter, Diesel, who I've had the privilege of fucking sitting down with. These dickheads are carrying on your legacy and they don't care. And if Teague cares, he fucking stands up and says he is a joke as a coach. This club is a joke. It's gone on for too long. Stop the finals talk. There is 8 blokes in this team that do not care about me, you, the time we give to this channel. You know what? I hate to say it, but I retire from Blue Abroad. I'm not giving my free time anymore to these fucking frauds. I will support them, but I ain't spending time away from my family if they can't be asked to give me 2 fucking hours a week. They can get fucked.
Yeah, it's tough, mate.
I was a little bit upset. I'm gonna be
Saw you cry on the telly.
I was a little bit upset. I'm going to be totally honest.
The man retired from the channel. Wow.
Honestly, I don't think I've ever been so. Honestly, I remember as well. I was like really off the tea train round one with you, and I was proper derailed off the tea train after that game.
I still remember. Like you mentioned us as a final side. It was round 221. The fact that we went through another 2, if you include 21, 2 full seasons to finally get to where we wanted to get to and be on track, is scary. So further to the point that we were talking about before that, I don't see how the complacency can possibly kick in because there's been so many of them together on the list for many years who have experienced the lows together.
I mean, we talk about the big improvement in them. I think you've only got to go. I actually, for banter, watched that game only a couple of months ago, the Collingwood game. It was like the first time I'd watched it since that video. So I was thinking, I'm pretty good at getting over it usually. But you look at that team and you can see that there is no togetherness in that team. You can see that is 22 blokes who have been sent out there with no idea of what they're doing because you got to feel sorry for Cripps and Doc and players like that then because when they went into that game, Teague was sending them against a full army and he'd given them kazoos and wooden swords. That was his game plan. Do you know what I mean? And it was just hoping. And you look at now, the fight, the desire. Do you know what I mean? The hunger to not lose. And there was times, I think that Melbourne game, we talk about the difference. They got on top for large parts, but we wouldn't lose. We weren't going to lose. And that's big. That's big change in the mindset.
It's very true. Yeah.
Because we folded over that game. I mean, I've copped, Lockie Plowman copped it in my abuse that game, but go back and watch it.
Yeah, I remember being filthy at him. I'm trying to think, when did I melt? When did I melt down the most?
Plowman.
Yeah, I think that.
You've got Plowman. You've got Plowman.
Yeah, that was a meltdown. But I mean, I was just really mad. But I knew we sucked back then. Real meltdown.
You changed though when you became the host. You had to take a step back, which is probably good for your mental health.
Yeah, I guess so.
My favourite Terry moment, without a shadow of a doubt, though, was when he did that review and you're starting to replay the game in your mind, and you go, and we kicked to Gibbons how many fucking times? And it's the desk punch. My favourite.
Oh, true. This was my melt. Oh, this was clearly the meltdown. Yep. 2021. That was my meltdown.
That was my favourite, Terry, because it is how I can tell your brain is replaying.
Yeah. It just kept flashing in my mind.
Yeah,
that was bad.
makes a good one. Do you remember that? When you went over, the GWS away game.
Yeah, that was 2021. That was actually a meltdown. I actually broke down.
Terry was pissed.
I cracked. 12 of them didn't lay a tackle in the first half from memory. Yeah. You
got to remember, though, the improvement in me, right? That was my lowest point. And I had to do a whole show with Let Dog all year when Let Dog lost his mind. Like, I was the emotional support. I'd gone from a guy that spat his dummy to supporting people.
Yeah.
I got so loose to losing that now I can handle losses.
True. So I know I can. I know I will appreciate the wins. I know because of these memories. How can you not? I don't have a fear of complacency with this team. We've been through too much, man. We've been through too much. I've watched. Remember us losing to the waffle side?
You know what? One of my mates the other day, we were talking because he rang me to ask about what training was like. He lives in the state. And we were reminiscing of, do you remember we played Hawthorn pre-season before 2018? And we were like 65 down at half time. And then Hawthorn brought out their fucking Box Hill team. And we got within 2 goals and everyone was getting excited going, Hawthorn have just won. They've won flags recently. And we kicked 10 unanswered goals. And like I was on the phone to him going, there was like 12-year-olds, mate. And we were just beating them. I was like, how times have changed.
Yeah.
How times have changed.
How times have changed. Murph's last game, that was, David, pick up the phone. It was good times.
All I remember of that game is I did the watch along with Shannon and he made Shannon cry.
Oh, yeah.
It was that bad that they didn't try that. Shannon started crying. And the watch-alongs have made me better because I joke when we're shit. That's my coping mechanism now. I start having a giggle.
Yeah.
And Shannon's there, fucking, the world just caved in. Carlton. How much?
Thank you very much, Ord. He says, can't wait for Cripper to lift the 2024 Cup. Well, yeah. I mean, we were just talking about it. It's so clear in the mind. That it's going to happen.
I actually reckon the Adelaide Gibbs one kills me.
Adelaide Gibbs, yeah. I'm so mad I'm wearing a fucking headband, man.
Fuck me. Tell you, I feel closer to the boys because they've annoyed me.
Yeah.
They're a bit like kids. Like they've annoyed me so much, but they've also given me some good moments that.
Well, it's such a unique relationship. I don't know many, if any of them personally properly, but I feel like I've covered some of their careers for every single game. Like I've covered every single Sam Walsh game that's ever been played. You know?
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's crap. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? If you think about it, it is crazy. Some of the stuff we've witnessed, like I said earlier, like how many other places would you see we did a stream because a bloke refused to have a vaccination? Like when people say, "What's it like being a Carlton fan?" That happened.
True. We streamed. Do we stream when Jones didn't do the job?
Emergency stream from memory.
We did an emergency. Yeah.
Like, how bad has it got as a Carlton fan? Well, we won 2 games in a year and then I had to do a stream because he was the only bloke in the AFL that didn't take the vaccination.
That's right.
Just when he can't get worse, he used to.
We come out of COVID and lose a player.
There was a point in my time when we used to do these shows that I used to get texts from the club and, used to see Carlton FC email.
Yeah.
And I actually used to shit myself and think, what next? Like, what now? What could possibly have gone wrong?
True. Lucinda, I think this video would be about, genuinely think it would be about 23 minutes long.
I'm thinking the song's probably 30 seconds long. Then times that by how many goals he's kicked.
True. Do you sing it every time he kicks a goal?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's 81 times in 2023.
yeah. And some people complain that I even do it when when we lose, because it's a routine. It's got to get up and about and make some noise.
Yeah. Marcos should do a stream where everyone gets on and shares their best moments, best, worst moments. It's quite therapeutic.
Oh,
hey, I'm down. I'm down to reflect. All about it.
To be fair, it's fun reflecting now. I don't have to go through it anymore. It wasn't fun
outside the last half of this season. What's your most memorable great game?
Murphy Fremantle.
Yeah, I loved round 10, 2022 against the Swans, and round 1 that year as well, where we finally beat Richmond. I love those games.
Yeah, I think the Fremantle Murphy game is probably my favourite.
Yeah.
Like, for excitement. Like
Fisher, clever.
Yeah. And your boy finishing off some good work from Levi.
Work. The West Coast watch along was great.
Yeah.
Which one?
Charlie kicked about 100
Oh, the
goals.
Charlie one. Yeah.
Probably 45 minutes of that song in that alone.
Yeah. So that's that. What else is news?
We should do a Collingwood round 2 watch along rewatch.
Collingwood round 2. Do you what, like re-premiere it?
Yeah, just rewatch that game.
It's not a bad idea.
I wish I'd done the watch along on here.
It's not a bad idea to re-upload some of the best fan cams, like download them and re-upload them as like videos, whatever. I think I thought about this as well. There's a whole selection of videos on the Facebook page, because this initially was not on YouTube. Initially, it was on Instagram, then Facebook video, then hit YouTube. So there's like a bunch of videos from, I think, end of 2018 to start of 2019 that are not on YouTube but are on Facebook. So I've always thought about uploading them, but it's like, what for?
There's some
do we need to see me topless in a pool?
Legit. The OGs will remember Terry try and sell you all. He didn't plan that. It's probably he's second only to David Teague trying to tell me that us winning fucking contested possession was a good thing after a 60-point loss. It is my favourite Cowan moment ever.
Oh, I just happened to find this pool.
Quality. That was absolute quality.
Oh, God. So
we have to recreate that when we win a flag.
We will. I've got another pool to get to at some point. Yeah. All right. That's about it, guys. For those of you who are not subscribed to the email list, I send emails once a month, once every couple of weeks-ish. If you would like to receive emails, please get in touch with me. I'll add you to the list and you can receive emails. I've currently got, for those who are receiving emails, you will see any purchase from the BA store with the merch gets you 2 free pins. So that offer ends Sunday night before January 1 hits. So get in there. Pommy, what's on for the rest of the day, mate, and the rest of the week?
I mean, it's a bit of a dead week, isn't it, after Crimbo, isn't it?
A little bit.
So I went mental the other day and recorded an absolute load of content because I'm organised and ting. So there's a lot of content coming. And then privately, I'll be playing with the kids and entertaining them, in
Nice.
the last couple of weeks of freedom before they have to go back to school, I suppose.
Nice.
Just doing
True.
dad stuff, really exciting things.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Grown
mate,
up.
enjoy that. I will speak to you soon. Those of you who tuned in, thanks for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day, and you'll see these videos pop up over the next few days. We'll get them up individually. I'll add some highlights and zhuzh them up a bit and go from there. Otherwise, take it easy. Go Blues.
Go Blues.